One of the greatest feelings that any woman can ever experience is giving birth. There are no words to adequately describe just how amazing and awesome it is. But for some, this seems like an impossibility. Many have struggled for years to get pregnant, only to have it end in miscarriage, or not even pregnant at all. And to make matters worse, the psychological toll that it can take on you can be devastating. Feelings of inadequacy or shame are very common. If you've struggled with fertility or wonder if you can even get pregnant naturally, well, I have great news for you. There are solutions to your problems, and there is an answer to your prayers. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the major causes of infertility. We'll also find out, what does it take to get pregnant? What does it take to carry a pregnancy to full term? How does the pill affect fertility? And is there anything that I can do? Well, we will answer all of these questions and more on today's show. Our special guest today is women's health expert and natural hormone guru, Jackie Harvey. Jackie Harvey is the publisher of naturalhormoneguru.com, which is a culmination of her vision to see women experience wellness and natural hormone health. Now, before Jackie was a hormone guru, she was an accountant, she was a wife to her husband Jerry, and mother to 7 wonderful kids, 5 of which are daughters. But when her body began to betray her and traditional medicine suggested surgery, she decided there has to be a better way. And God took her in a different direction. She truly believes that that different direction saved her life, her daughters' lives, and the lives of countless other women. She also worked alongside best-selling author and world-renowned hormone expert, Dr. John Lee. She's an ardent supporter of saliva testing and has created a proven, all-natural hormone balancing program. She's been a tireless advocate for women's health and natural solutions for over 30 years. Jackie, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Deanne. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, Jackie, today we're talking about fertility. What are some of the causes of infertility? And also, how does understanding our hormones and our cycle come into play?
You know, it's an interesting thing, but 1 out of 6 couples today has difficulty becoming pregnant. It's a huge issue, you know. So many are trying to prevent pregnancy, but they don't realize that there's a big issue out there with conception and women's inability to conceive. So there's a lot of reasons for it. You know, women could have endometriosis, they could have picked up an infection from a sexually transmitted disease, they can have uterine, abnormalities, they can be exposed to certain chemicals. But there's 3 main causes that we see for women who are not able to conceive. One is problems with ovulation. Another one would be overweight. And I want to go back into these a little bit deeper on this call. And then the third one would be stress. So with regards to ovulation disorders, the thing that we're going to see the most is estrogen dominance causing infertility. That's where progesterone is too low. Estrogen is usually either high, medium, or low. Doesn't matter where estrogen is at that point. If progesterone's low, it's going to impact fertility in big ways. So a hormone imbalance is going to be probably the number 1 problem that we see. The number 2 problem is going to be women that are overweight. Optimal weight, not too high, not too low, but just right. That's what is necessary to achieve a healthy pregnancy. So for women that are too thin, for example, they may not produce enough estrogen to ovulate. And so they might be having menstrual cycles where they are not ovulating. Ovulation requires a minimum of 18% body fat, and women need to realize that. can't be very thin and expect to conceive. But on the other hand, if women have a BMI of more than 30, that's classified as obesity, and that can create too much estrogen, and that will also then cause too much testosterone to be produced, and that can produce something that is called insulin resistance, and that's going to have a very negative effect again on women's fertility. And we can come back to some of these if you want as well. Stress is a big problem. You know, I usually advise women to who want to conceive a child to get the book by Tony Weschler, Weschler, called Taking Charge of Your Fertility. It's one of the best books that I've recommended for my own daughters to use as well. But she says this about stress. Stress can interfere with conception. In fact, if you're having a hard time getting pregnant, people may have already said to you, just relax and it will happen. And you know, that's a common saying out there. And although you know, the women who have this said to them might feel that a bit insulted, there is truth to it, according to her. She says that's because stress can affect the functioning of the hypothalamus, the gland in the brain that regulates your appetite and emotions, as well as hormones. And this hypothalamus tells your ovaries to release eggs. And if you're under sudden stress, an accident, a death in the family, these are the types of stress that can throw your whole cycle off. And, you know, exams would be another time. We know that young girls can have their whole hormone milieu thrown out of balance just because of stress. So it will also have an impact on their fertility as well.
What about the pill? What about women who have been on the pill for a long time and now they're looking to get pregnant?
Okay. The birth control pill has a huge impact, of course, on fertility because it's intended to prevent a woman from having conception. But what it does is it actually blockades progesterone production with a synthetic form of progestin. And, you know, it's really naive to consider that everybody is going to recover from using the pill. Now, many do, of course, but there's many today that do not recover after using the birth control pill, and especially if they've used it for a long period of time. So women initially were using the pill for no more than 5 years. Now they're using the pill for 10 or 20 years, and they're expecting to conceive in their 40s. Now, we know that an egg is possible to be permeated with sperm, by sperm, still at 40, but it's getting iffy then. Now, I had 2 children in my 40s, but I was continuously having children as well. So I had 2 in my 30s, 2 in my 20s, 3 in my 30s, and then 2 in my 40s. For women who are just starting out wanting to have a child at 40, they need to do more to actually work on having a body that's going to be prepared for a pregnancy.
So hormone imbalance might be a contributing factor to infertility. What is the first step in finding out if hormone imbalance is the cause of infertility?
Well, I would say that to do a saliva test would be step one. You know, in order for fertility to take place, so many things have to come into place, and most of them have to do with hormones. So the corpus luteum has to pop an egg in the normal menstrual cycle. Prior to that, the lining of the uterus has to be manufactured. That's done by estrogen. The egg pops, produces progesterone. Those balance has to be kept. The endometrium has to be then prepared for that fertilized egg. All of that's hormones. And so making sure that the estrogen and progesterone and testosterone levels are appropriate and adequate would be very important.
Talk about progesterone and the role that it plays in conceiving and carrying a pregnancy to full term.
Well, a lot of pregnancies that terminate prematurely in the first trimester, for instance, are due to low progesterone. And sometimes that is because the women have come off the pill, haven't had enough time to reestablish their menstrual cycle, where they're having regular ovulation, regular menstruation, so they're not producing progesterone. Keep in mind, progesterone gets its name because it's the progestation hormone, the hormone that keeps a pregnancy. So maintaining proper progesterone levels after having come off the pill is very important.
So how could a woman optimize her chances of getting pregnant and staying pregnant even if she's in her 30s or her 40s?
I think that getting on a good nutrition program, it's so important. And maybe we should call it the optimal fertility diet. But a good quality nutrition program, that would be step one. Step two would be to make sure that your hormones are in balance. Make sure that they are in balance. Get on a hormone balancing program. And then step three would be to make sure that the supplements that you're on are going to support a pregnancy. So we know that a diet's hugely important. Here's a couple of things that are interesting. In the first trimester of a pregnancy, you're growing that embryo. It will increase 20 million times. That's amazing. In the first 8 weeks, your baby gets hands and their organs and their fingers and their legs and their feet and their head and their eyes and their nose and their ears. They're all being made in the first 8 weeks. So think about the nutrition that's the nutritional requirements that are put on that body, the mom, to give enough nutrients for that baby to grow and to prosper in the womb. So good nutrition is very, very important, but most of us are going to have to supplement.
Jackie, I've heard you tell countless women that there is hope and a healthy, natural way to get their body ready for conception and carrying a baby to full term. Talk about fertility and how a woman can get her body in the best place to get pregnant.
All right, so the best position to get pregnant is going to be making sure that your hormones are in balance. Number two, getting on a very excellent diet. We recommend a low-carb, high healthy fat diet. Baby needs fat in order to be produced. Most of the vitamins that we optimally need are fat-soluble vitamins. So that's important as well. And very, very excellent supplementation. Taking a good quality preconception and pregnancy supplement would be very important, regardless of what we eat. Most of us, even if we're eating organic and really healthy diets, we're not likely getting all the nutrients that our body needs. And young women, if they're under lots of stress and are fatigued, they're going to need more nutrients, not less nutrients. So supplementation is very important. Some of the things that I would suggest would be vitamin C, very important, because that's going to help with stress. And a pregnancy is stress. Vitamin D, we know that vitamin D is probably the most evidenced vitamin out there. And we know that it does radically reduce the risk of pregnancy complications. Premature delivery, preeclampsia would be two for sure. We also know that it reduces the risk of autism and type 1 diabetes in the newborn child. So vitamin D, very, very important to take as a supplement. I don't think it's wrong to take supplements when you're pregnant. Folic acid would be important as well. I think that we want to look in terms of supplementing an already good diet. But if you're going to supplement, the time to do that is when you're pregnant, for sure.
Another issue that often comes up regarding infertility is PCOS. What is PCOS, and can anything be done to fix that?
PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. So it's where the ovaries produce cysts. They don't pop eggs, and so women with PCOS are usually infertile. And certainly that can be corrected. It's also called androgen excess because the women with PCOS usually have a lot of circulating insulin. Now, 50% of them are overweight, but 50% aren't. So sometimes being overweight is a sign of PCOS for sure. However, with having said that, all women with PCOS, if they're not ovulating, they're not producing progesterone. So their hormones are out of balance. And so making sure that their hormones are back into balance is very important. Dr. Lee wrote an article, Getting Pregnant and Staying Pregnant. Very, very good. And so with gals with PCOS, we suggest that they get on a low-carb diet, get that insulin resistance resolved. Low carb, high healthy fat, good quality protein, very important. And then, keep evaluating their hormones until they have a balanced picture of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. So that testosterone's not too high, estrogen's not too high, and progesterone's in the right place. They will conceive. And we've had the experience of having women who have PCOS have very healthy babies. And it doesn't take them long either.
And Jackie has a great video on PCOS at naturalhormoneguru.com. So Jackie, how long does it normally take for a woman's body to recover and get pregnant?
I think women should take 6 months to a year to optimize their hormones, to optimize their nutrition, to make sure that they're well prepared for having this little person into their lives. It's not just about being pregnant, it's about afterwards as well, because we notice that women that don't produce, okay, let's go back and talk about progesterone production during a pregnancy. So at the trimester mark, progesterone starts to be produced by the placenta. And sometimes when women have a bit of morning sickness and so on, it's because the placenta hasn't kicked in and producing enough progesterone. The body's relying on the progesterone that was produced by the ovaries. So the beginning of the pregnancy, sometimes taking supplemental progesterone is very helpful to get rid of morning sickness. Now, because progesterone is called the progestation hormone, it maintains the pregnancy. So keeping progesterone high all the way through the pregnancy is the body's role. That's what it's supposed to do. But when the body is going to deliver this baby, a few hormones kick in as well. Prolactin, for instance, which opposes progesterone, and that's the signal to that this baby's coming out. The progesterone levels will drop very dramatically at that point. And for some women, they don't have a reserve. Their body, for some reason, hasn't produced enough of a reserve of progesterone, and they will develop postpartum depression. And, postpartum depression is a terrible thing for a new mom. They really don't do well with that. And it's most disconcerting to have this beautiful new baby and to feel so terrible. So postpartum depression can be resolved by making sure that adequate progesterone is provided after the pregnancy as well. And Dr. Lee talked a lot about that, the need for progesterone supplementation for many women who have developed postpartum depression.
Jackie, there are so many women who have struggled to get pregnant. And they may be in a place where it seems dangerous to hope. They've potentially had their hopes up high. They've heard try this or try that, only to have those hopes dashed. Why are you so confident that this will work?
We have many babies. I've had numbers of women send me pictures and send me thank yous. And the one thing that is consistent with what they say it seemed too easy because of all that other stuff they'd gone through. It's just sounded too easy. But if you're intended to have a child, this program will work.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Listen, I can speak firsthand on the joys of being a mother. But I can also relate to those of you who have struggled in this area. You see, I started late, and I had 2 miscarriages. But now I have 4 beautiful kids. The first one, she was born when I was 36 years old. And the last one, he was born when I was 42. So I truly believe that if you have the desire to be a mother, there is a way. We have an all-natural program that brings your hormones into balance. And it's been proven effective by thousands of saliva tests. So we know that it works. Now, will balancing your hormones guarantee a pregnancy? Unfortunately, no. But it does increase your chances significantly. And we know that without good hormone health, it's virtually impossible to conceive and carry a baby to full term. So at the very least, you'll be healthy and ready to be a mother. Or this could be the missing link that puts life within you. We know that you have a lot going on and we don't want to add to the stress. So we've made this super simple. Go to maxalive.com and subscribe to our all-natural hormone balance program. It has everything you need to balance your hormones naturally and a saliva test to prove it. And I make this no-risk promise to you. If for any reason you don't absolutely love the way that you feel, we will refund your money, no questions asked. So, it's okay to hope again. It's okay to believe again. And it's okay to try again. So follow your heart. Go to maxalive.com and subscribe to our all-natural hormone balance program and experience better health through natural hormone balance. Well, that's all for now. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon.